Welcome to Engineering Influence, a podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. And we're very pleased today to be joined by one of our industry's greatest resources, I think, in the design field, and that's Autodesk. We're joined by Theo Agelopolous, VP of AEC Design Strategy. And he comes today to talk about some new developments at Autodesk. Theo, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Well, thanks for having me.
So for the audience out there who use Autodesk every day or are very well aware of it, kind of just explain a little bit about yourself and what you do at Autodesk and how it directly affects the work that our member firms do.
Okay. Yeah, happy to. So I've been with Autodesk roughly around 17 years. And prior to that, I spent 13 years at Intergraph. I'm a civil engineer, but I've spent most of my career, I'd say, on the technology side of engineering. So, what I do and essentially what my team does at Autodesk is we lead a lot of our strategic planning for the AEC design business. Specifically, I have a peer that's responsible for construction, another one for operations. And essentially what we do is we look at market trends, we look at market opportunities, we assess product opportunities for ourselves to build and bring to market products that help the industry digitally transform. And then, we provide a lot of that information and as we build our long-range plan to our product teams, our marketing organization. And then essentially we also lead things like, M&A, well as partnerships. So we really are, I would say, the business planning and industry strategy team for the Autodesk AEC design business.
And Autodesk has really been expanding its investment in the AEC space, really across the board. Can you explain a little bit of Autodesk strategy behind the expansion and the increased investment, and really what it's going to mean for the downstream customer who uses your products as a whole?
Yeah. So, it's funny as I meet, many AEC members, I think every single one of them is using an Autodesk product at some point in their career, many starting with AutoCAD many, many years ago. So I think if you look at the 40 plus year history of Autodesk, we started in the 2D design space. And then we kind of began going vertical from an industry perspective, starting with architecture. And then we expanded into different disciplines like MEP and structure. And we expanded, into the civil business. And then we expanded into multiple civil markets between transportation, water, land development. And then I'd say over the last decade, a big shift, we've had is moving downstream into construction. And a lot of that was really about helping the construction industry digitize. But more importantly, it was about better connecting, designers and contractors to optimize the way projects get delivered. And then I would say more recently, we've been making investments in the operations space through investments like digital twin technologies. Tandem, we acquired a company called Innovise that has different solutions in the asset management and plant operations space. So I would say our journey has been really to try and address the full asset lifecycle, primarily in the building and infrastructure space. And a lot of that is really about helping our customers deliver projects better, more sustainably, with less errors, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah, there has, and Autodesk has really helped drive this, but there has been that increased move to digital engineering, especially construction. Now it seems as though the workflows are all, you can integrate them significantly across practice areas or disciplines. What are you hearing from your customer base on really what their challenges are, how they want the software to assist them in project delivery, in the general project development workflow? How do you think the customers are going to be pushing the technology forward?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So here's what I would say. If I think back in my own career when I first came out, and I'm dating myself many years ago, but it wasn't that we weren't using digital technology. I was using digital technology as a young engineer. The problem is that we, independently, we were all using digital technology in silos. Right? And so that created a lot of redundancy, a lot of rework, a lot of errors, people using either different applications or people going from analog to digital processes. So So I think, at the end of the day, what I hear from customers, number one is how do we eliminate a lot of the waste and redundancy even today in the work that we have? And a lot of that is quite frankly driven by interoperability. How do we make products more interoperable? Even products within the Autodesk portfolio, but more importantly, we live in a very hybrid technology ecosystem. People are using a lot of different, vendor applications. And that's actually one of the reasons we have been very focused on trying to build interoperability agreements with companies like Bentley, Trimble, Hexagon. So that's definitely one area I would say that I'm hearing from customers. The other thing I'm hearing from customers is it's really difficult to recruit and retain workers, so we have to do more with less. So how do we basically, optimize the way we use technology to bridge that gap? So, so we'll talk about it later, I'm sure, but things like AI, what does that mean for our industry? What does an engineering firm look like, 10, 20, 30 years from now? And a lot of that driven by the marketplace and how our customers get paid. So if you think about a lot of the anxiety here from, especially as I talk to different executives and board of directors of a lot of our customers, the concerns are we're primarily a times and material company. We're like the McKinsey of the AEC, built hours, right? So on the one hand, we want to reduce hours. On the other hand, we want to optimize hours. So what's the right balance and how do we change the operating model where engineering companies can make money different ways? And I think technology definitely provides opportunities to do that. And I think that's a lot of the discussion certainly that I have with customers is how do we transform from being just a traditional engineering company to being an engineering, technology and product type of company where we can blend our discipline knowledge or our subject matter expertise with technology to deliver a different product to market. And if you think about what happens today is that, if you're $100 million engineering company and you have 1,000 people, say, whatever the number is, right? And you want to be a $200 million engineering company on the traditional model, you have to double the number of people because it's a very linear growth model. So a lot of the questions I get is how do we change that linear growth model to be more like a hockey stick so that engineering companies can thrive? And obviously, I think the other reality is, every customer that I talk to ultimately wants to deliver a better product to their customer. So we're all motivated, and I think we work in a field where the things we deliver to the marketplace change the world. So it's how do we do it more sustainably? How do we do it more efficiently? So, and then I think the final thing that I'm hearing more recently is definitely around, and I mentioned it earlier, is, there's all this hype, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was around digital twins, and now it's around AI. And what is AI? Is AI going to replace, architects, engineers, and contractors? And what role should we play? Is Autodesk going to replace engineers, with AI? And so there's some of the questions we get, and I think the answer is no. I think my response generally, or my feeling at least, is those architects, engineers, etc., that use AI will definitely replace those that don't. So we see AI more as a complementary, co-pilot, no pun intended, but for an architect or engineer. So anyway, so that's really what I hear from a lot of our customers.
Yeah, you really hit on a number of things that we are seriously considering, because the seismic shift with AI and machine learning and the like, and its integration with the industry is really pushing efficiencies. And we're seeing a lot of that in the business development realm right now, the marketing realm. It's cutting down the time from to RFP responses. It's allowing firms to leverage their resources, their libraries of past answers, and use AI to kind of streamline and respond quickly. It's we're also looking at what, to your point, what is the firm of 2030 going to be looking like? How is that going to be? What is it going to be in terms of staffing with AI really taking a more sizable presence in the firm? Are you going to have more licensed engineers? You're going to have fewer licensed engineers and more people who are on the software side? Or are you going to allow the technology to kind of help guide a plan and have fewer people to be able to, sign on the actual plans? It really is a good question of, how with the demand for technology to create efficiencies, the idea of having firm whose billing model for generations has been pretty much billing time on projects. You cut that down, then it's a question of how do you move your billing model. One of the things I've heard about is the idea, if you're designing a bridge, it's the idea of actually owning that digital twin and being able to service the client through the life cycle of the project, from inception to completion to maintenance and replacement, and being able to almost offer that as a firm would offer software as a service. You're actually offering the engineering as a service throughout the entire life cycle of that project. What kind of opportunities do you see, or do you kind of think are out there for firms that are agile and forward looking to be able to adapt to this changing marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, I think you gave a couple of really great examples of what is happening and what probably should happen. But it is how I think it's going to be, transformational in a shorter time than what we've seen technology transform our business in the past. So that's the first thing. So we believe, what may have taken I'll give you a good example. Building information modeling has been around now for almost 20 years, right? And building information modeling is really a premise around a process. It's not about buying a product. The products we or other technology companies build enable a digital engineering and a digital construction process, but it's our customers that are doing the building information modeling. And if you think about building information modeling, even today, we're not there yet. Like, are you different levels of maturity in different markets? And I don't think it's a technology problem. I think it's a change management problem, right? The difference with AI is what we've been trying to, incorporate into our more traditional delivery processes. AI is it's going to take that from, say, 20 years to 3, right? So we see in the next 3 years, a dramatic change in the way our customers think, or both plan their business, plan their customers' projects, and ultimately how they deliver and operate. And here's what I think you're going to see, and it's already happening at some level. To your point, we're seeing a lot of customers using, AI and machine learning to do things around better optimizing even the projects that they pursue. And I've seen examples where customers say, you know what, in this country, in this state, for this project type, we lose money. So we're going to stop pursuing those types of projects, and we're going to focus on these types of projects where we make money. So there's already kind of I always think about this kind of data, information, knowledge kind of spectrum, right? And we're moving to this knowledge, place where people or customers, and firms can make better decisions, right? You're starting to see within products and even our own products, whether you realize it or not, we're using AI to do things like help. And that's about helping customers be more efficient with using our products. But fundamentally, in order to leverage the power of AI, you need to have an underlying data and platform that you can essentially build LLMs. And then on top of that, you can build different agents that do different things, right? That's actually, what we're focused on right now. And I think, many technology companies, in the AI space are doing the same thing. And fundamentally is how do you put your data, or structure your data or your customers' data in a way, okay, that then allows you to leverage the power of AI to solve these different problems. And for us, what we're doing is today, I'll give you an example. Autodesk Docs, is our data environment, common data environment, right? And when our customers are collaborating in a Autodesk cloud environment, on top of that Docs environment, which is basically a bunch of files, we are actually deconstructing those files into what we're calling an AEC data model. So now we're not managing files, we're actually managing parts and pieces. So as long as you're using the Autodesk platform, we're essentially helping you structure your data in a way that then allows us to do the things that you just talked about, right? So I would say right now we're doing 2 things at Autodesk in this front. One is and I should premise this by saying this is not new for Autodesk. ChatGPT, which is kind of text-based AI, has seen a massive, kind of progression, primarily because of the volume of people using text-based AI or investing in text-based. We've actually been doing research around 3D models in AI for over a decade. We're actually, I think, the number one published, technology company in the space, right? So just that AI now has come to the forefront and we're beginning to incorporate it, into products, right? So we've got a lot of experience, I think, when you start talking about 3D, AI. And so what we're doing is what we see it in multiple phases. One is make sure we set up the data and platform for Autodesk to bring to market different types of applications that leverage AI. Same platform is intended to be a marketplace for our engineering and our architecture customers and our construction customers to do their own things with AI, so they don't have to go build all the platforms and data. We want this to be a way for them to accelerate their use of AI. So if you think about the examples that you talked about, if I'm a firm and I want to build some kind of really cool AI tool for a bridge for an owner, I just have the ability to, essentially build that app like you're building an app on the Apple Store and deliver that app as an offering to my customer. So now, if you go back to what I said earlier, I'm not just delivering time and materials. I'm actually delivering a product that the customer is paying me for on an extended period of time. Right? So the business model has completely changed. What our customers deliver to their customers has changed. It also requires that the type of people that our customers hire changes. Now you're going to hire civil engineers or bridge engineers or whatever, but you're also essentially going to have to hire different types of skill sets like data scientists and I think we certainly technology is getting to a place where you're not hiring a traditional developer, you're hiring a different type of technical person that can assemble parts to deliver something, right? So I think that's kind of where we're going. That's happening, I'd say, in some cases already. Now, there's one thing that we didn't mention that I think is going to be critically important, and certainly something we're trying to do our part. And I think ACEC has a critical role in this, right? In order for that to work, ultimately the business models have to change of how owners pay firms, and owners need to shift away from time and materials to paying for value. So we need to move to this value-based business model. And I think you guys play, and I think we're members of ACE, so we all play a role in influencing and educating owners on why this is critically important for them and why the value for them is actually has the most value in the whole value chain. So if you think about, and there was an interesting study a few years ago, this was primarily done on BIM on a building, but I think it was KPMG, I can't remember, but they were hired by the UK government, and they wanted to kind of quantify where's the, because they have a BIM mandate, right? So when you have a BIM mandate, where's the value in the value chain? Who gets the most value out of BIM, right? And there was definitely value for design, right? More value for construction because the cost is higher. But at the end of the day, when you look at the total operating cost of a capital asset, 90% of that value of the cost is really in operations and maintenance. So ultimately, the owner is the one that gets the most value. So we need to convince, capital asset owners, regardless whether it's a private building or a federal building or a road or whatever, that they're making an investment. Making that upfront value-based investment drives a bigger rate of return. So now, of course, the challenge is always the fact that politicians get cycled every 4 years. I mean, right? But this is, I think, in my opinion, this is one of the most critical things we have to solve for. And I think influencing policy, public policy, influencing industry or industry associations, play a critical role in that. In my opinion.
I agree with you 100%. We have, as engineers, it is always that selling their value, and not just, like you said, time and materials. That model no longer works when you have the efficiencies that technology brings and the opportunities for firms to do more than just do initial design, hand it off, and there you go. That's the part in the process. And it is that ability to touch the whole life cycle of a project. And I would say that, the interesting thing, and I'd like your take on this, because, technology is to an extent a great equalizer, and firms now, always used to be, well, the large firms have the the capex expenditures and the investments to be able to bring on new technologies and take risks because they have that ability. But really, firms of all sizes small, medium, and large can take advantage of this technology. To your point, really what you're doing is you're curating the data, and the tools that you offer are actually helping firms organize their data in such a way where it can actually be leveraged by AI, which is of course a large part of the puzzle, right? It still is that the result you get out of the AI model is as good as the agent you create and the data that you actually put into the model to teach it. How do you see this as to me it seems as though it's going to be really a cross size of firms and the entire industry that this opportunity is going to be there, and for it's just going to be a question of who's going to be grabbing the technology and using it best first.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I agree. And I think that's, so look, the track, like we Autodesk have gone through multiple transformations, right? And I'd say, without going through the whole history again, the transformation we are in right now is about transforming from being a traditional product company where we develop these individual products and we target the different, individuals and owners for a certain job to be done, to a platform company. Okay. And that transition, and I have this conversation all the time with a lot of our customers who, come to me and are concerned about price, right? And we have a lot of these pricing discussions all the time. And the problem with the traditional model is most of our customers use a very small percentage of that application. So, I'm paying this much, but I'm only using this much, right? When you move to this platform model and you start to deconstruct products into apps, think about, I always use the analogy of your phone, right? People have seen me speak before, probably are going to switch off. But, when you buy your phone, you don't get trained on how to use your phone, right? What you do is you basically, depending on who you are, what you do, whether it's personal or professional, and this is why these phones have become now, common way of doing business in the professional world, is you install apps on your phone based on the job that you do, right? And knowing you don't go to training like a lot of our customers do today to get taught Revit or Civil 3D or Plant 3D or whatever, right? So as we're making that shift, we're moving to that type of model. So what does that mean, right? So what it means is, one, my cost, getting young engineers or architects, whoever, to a point where they bring value to the firm, right? That's number one. Number two, when I curate the experience for that architect and engineer, because not every engineer does the same job, right? I'm a civil engineer, but I could be on a project and I could be doing lighting, or I could be striping, or I could be doing, geotechnical. So there's probably 100 different things I can do. But when you start curating the offering to the job to be done, you narrow the application and you let them be highly efficient, without having to have all these onboarding costs. Okay. But more importantly, is those apps are all that data is connected, right? So now I can have different people manipulating different data that surfaces to other individual, and you start to build a real-time decision support system. It starts to trigger reactions, real time. So, give another example. So if I'm a project manager and I've got 1,000, it could be 5 people or 500 people, right? But I'm a project manager. I don't need to get into any of the authoring tools to look at models, right? All I care about is someone behind schedule, and do I need to go and talk to that person because they're filling up the whole project, right? So, so having a simple dashboard that has a red light that flashes and said, "Go talk to this guy." I mean, that's the kind of real time decision support systems we need to create, and I think that's what this move to platform allows. So now, if I'm a small firm, okay, I'm going to stop and say the most valuable thing our engineering customers have is their people and the subject matter expertise and the intellectual knowledge in their heads. So the question is, how do you take that that domain knowledge that they have and scale it across your firm in a way that is not financially crippling? Okay. What we're trying to do is build that underlying platform that allows anyone to essentially, take that knowledge, build it into potentially an app, and scale it through their enterprise and deliver different types of services and to their clients. So that's where I think that's the journey we're on. So at the end of the day, the most valuable thing I think that you have is the data. intellectual property, and then the platform approach allows our customers to put that together. So that's the next transformation that we're on. And some of the examples that you called out, for example, the bridge example with the digital twin, you know, we don't want that to only be available to the largest firms that have, who have the most, money to be able to deliver that kind of application, right? We want any firm, okay, to be able to deliver an experience, okay, that is unique to help drive their business. And it's the business model transformation that I'm talking about, because the platform we're building, yes, it's an underlying data platform, but it's also going to be a business, an e-commerce platform, allow you to monetize potentially. Now we're not there yet, so I don't want to tell you go build an app on the Autodesk store and you're going to get paid. That's not, we're on that journey, right? So I'm just telling you, but that's the vision we have, is where we commoditize technology so we can accelerate the digital transformation. We can transform the way projects get delivered. That journey we're on, I would say.
Yeah, it is an exciting one because this is completely upending the way the business has been done. And it really is allowing firms to choose really how they're going to be delivering their services and how they want to kind of position themselves in the market and differentiate themselves from competition. With the speed of technology, it's always it moves so quickly that it seems as though we went from talking about AI in a very, very general sense just maybe 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden now we're all of a sudden talking about how firms are actually actively integrating it into their business systems. What do you think do you think AI is probably the next transformational technology that's really going to take a while to get completely baked in? Do you think that there's something else out there which is on the cusp, or something that we need to be thinking about in advance? How's Autodesk looking at the rate of change, and what the next big thing could possibly be for the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think as I think about my own career over the last 30 years, we saw, you know, many technology transformations, right? I'll give you an example. I lived through, traditional surveying, you know, total stations, and then, reality capture. I lived through, aerial acquisition systems, from analog film to digital, right? I lived through this whole airborne reality capture, of how we collect terrain. So and then obviously the whole 2D to 3D, and then CAD to BIM, and so yeah. So here's what I would say, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, right? So time will tell. Is what I see different. What we see right now is the big technology shifts that happen, like for example, cloud and big data has enabled this thing called AI to accelerate, right? So we were already shifting to cloud because computing, better collaboration, all the value, costs came down, so customers could eliminate some of the on-prem costs and manage a heavyweight IT environment to outsourcing it to somebody else. And then big data came along, which was really the foundation for a lot of the stuff I just talked about. So I actually believe that this next phase right now, it's hard to see beyond that because of the implications of AI, right? I think and I'll go back to my earlier statement, the next 3 years are going to be transformational, in the business. And here's what's different is technology companies like Autodesk are already implementing AI in different parts of the product. In just help, but when you use AutoCAD, it's telling you what the next command should be, as an example, right? And so you're going to see more and more examples, just, I would say, evolving and being surfaced in the existing products that you use. So that's pretty transformational. We're seeing customers, independent of companies like Autodesk, using AI to make business development decisions, like you said, to accelerate their internal knowledge of their business, to accelerate the way they do proposal development, estimating, code compliance. It's happening on multiple fronts, right? The next 3 years isn't so much about AI. What's going to be disruptive is how do technology companies and our clients actually incorporate it into so many different value cases that I think it's infinite in many cases, right? So So I think, without thinking about what's beyond AI, because I think the AI transformation is going to actually be what drives the next transformation beyond that, right? So that's, I think, why we're doubling down on our side to try to build the right foundation for the AEC industry to allow that acceleration and ultimately be the platform for the next transformation and beyond. So, so if there's any executives, that watch your podcast, at any of the ACE's firms, I will tell what I always tell and create anxiety on for a lot of BODs or boards of directors is, if you're not thinking about technology as being a transformative lever in the future of engineering, you are making a grave mistake and you're behind. And that's how profound I think this is, in my
Yeah.
opinion, right?
I agree. I agree. I think that this is one of those times where those companies that embrace it and figure out how to best integrate and use it as an efficiency tool, and then also a tool to kind of restructure their business. And to your point earlier about, even deciding which projects to go after, which not, which would be more expensive or time consuming to go after for the return on the investment. I mean, it really is going to be a question of those firms that are going to succeed are the ones that are using and leveraging technology, not in a uniform sense, but really tailored to what their firm needs and how their firm operates. It really is an exciting time. And I know that, remember talking to a member of the Autodesk team a couple months back at our last conference, talking about the AI integration into some of its software platforms, going from text-based, moving into the 3D world and getting to that point where it's almost the holy grail of allowing AI to assist in the drawing capability and the actual graphic and design work. It really is amazing. For those firms that are out there that are trying to figure out exactly how they can best leverage this technology, what support does Autodesk supply to those executives to really help tailor the software to their business?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a mix, right? We have our own internal consulting teams that are helping. Yeah, and by the way, I want to say a lot of this is going to be an evolution, you know, towards a revolution, right? So just not to freak anyone out, but yeah, yeah, and my sense of urgency is people need to start thinking about it, trying to incorporate into their business. And the way we're supporting customers today, obviously, we're trying to, make it so customers that use Autodesk technology and cloud services are already on that journey, whether they realize it or not. Right. So as long as they continue to use our stuff, we're going to bring them along one way or another. Right. Two, I think, for a lot of our larger clients, we have Autodesk consulting services, and we spend a lot of time understanding different use cases and helping them. In many cases, it's more like train the trainer, helping them evolve how they incorporate certainly our platform and technology as part of their AI and various other technology initiatives. And then Autodesk has the largest partner network in the industry. So a lot of this for the smaller to medium-sized firms, we also are developing and maturing our partner network to provide those services. So in the US, there's a multitude of local partners that we leverage, and we'll continue to invest in those partners to help them provide those services to our customers.
Fantastic. Well, Theo, we covered a good amount of ground here. I mean, is there anything else that you want to make sure our listeners know before we wrap up?
No, I think we covered a lot. I mean, all I would say is that I want our ACEC, firms to know that we are listening to them. We value feedback, good and bad. Sometimes, we have tough discussions, and we always want to receive that feedback and try and address their concerns. I don't want our customers thinking we're just off on a tangent doing things that we want. We don't care. We care a lot about our customers. We care about the industry, and we care about the world we live in. And that's one of the key values that Autodesk as a company, regardless of industry, cares about. I'd say we're building the platform of the future. We want to bring our customers along. We're going to make some mistakes along the way, but we will always try and pivot and do the right thing as much as we possibly can, to service the broader market. And I would encourage customers to reach out and leverage us where they need help, and I think that's what we're here for. So we want to support, our customers in the industry as much as possible. And again, we want to do the right thing. We want to digitally transform the industry. We want the world a better place, but somehow there's always trade-offs in those objectives, right? So that's all I would say. But no, thank you for the opportunity, and
Absolutely.
to follow on at some point if needed.
No, I would love to. I mean, this is something which is, I mean, it's important to try to keep abreast of the biggest changes that are happening, especially with software that enables our firms to operate. You know, we see changes all the time. As we look forward to that firm of the future, there are a lot of different areas where I'd love to have you back on the show to talk about. You know, either the you know where the evolution of the firm is going, the business model itself, the application of the technology into those business models. There's a lot to cover. So it's a good, first step in I think a longer conversation. So Theo, thank you very much again for taking the time out of the day to join us.
Of course, and thank you again, and thank you to all our customers, obviously, that continue to invest and believe in Autodesk software.
Yes, absolutely. And again, that was Theo Agelopolous. He is the VP of AEC Design Strategy with Autodesk. And this has been Engineering Influence podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. And we'll see you next time.